Hello everyone, Algebra 1 is moving on. Mr. N here. This is, a lesson that will continue the part that we covered in class. For Unit 4, we're working on equations. And the first part of Unit 4 deals, as you guys already know, with solving equations in one step, I would say, most of them, by using addition and subtraction. Obviously, the main goal of the lesson, the main goal of this unit will be that every one of you will be having no issues, no problems at the end of the unit, and will be able to solve any type of equations given in any test from now on. Okay? Talking about the beginning of Unit 4, solving equations with addition and subtraction, you have to remember a few of the properties regarding, addition. Alright? If you have two numbers, A and B, give me just a second here because it looks like my tablet doesn't want to write. Okay, any number A, B, your A and B will be real numbers, right? If your A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. Do you remember we covered this in class? Mrs. Bell talked about it, and we gave you guys a few examples. Same story if you're taking the same quantity away from A and B. If your A equals B, right, and you subtract the same number C from both sides, you will end up on the left with A minus C, which should stay equal with B minus C. Mrs. Bell also told you in class today that your equations are like a teeter-totter, right? If you have, something on the left, you will have the same thing on the right. Now, obviously, those things may be looking different. Let's say I may have a square here and a circle on the other side. But what can you guys tell me about your circle and the square? Just looking at the fact that, my teeter-totter here is balanced. The left side equals the right side. Now, if we assume that the black dots here are the same, then I can also say that, my square should be the same with my circle. Imagine this is a square and that's a circle, right? But let's do some problems. And how about this one? Okay, this is a simple problem, one step. I expect that every one of you, and I mean it, everyone will be able to solve this problem. I have an unknown quantity r from which I'm taking 6 and I'm left with negative 11. To find how big is that quantity r, I'm going to put back that 6 that was taken away. I'm going to undo that subtraction, right? And you will add that 6 to both sides, and on the left you will have your r. Minus 6 plus 6 will be 0. You bring down the equal sign, right? Equals negative 11 plus 6. Negative 11 plus 6. You're adding two integers with different sign. The rule says subtract the smallest absolute value from the largest one, right? The smallest absolute value is 6. Take it away from 11, that gives you 5. And then keep the sign of the largest one. And that would be negative 5. And we're done. Your r will be negative 5. However, you should check. And how do you check, right? You will plug in the value of your r into your initial equation. And that gives you what? Negative 5 minus 6 equals negative 11. What do you guys think? Is that true? Well, when you subtract, remember the rule from the class? When you subtract, you add the opposite of the number that gets subtracted. So now I have what? I have negative 5 plus negative 6. My answer will definitely be negative. And all I need to do is to add 5 plus 6. Okay? It checks. I'm good. Happy. I'm moving on. Right? Another example. As you can see, it's pretty much the same as the previous one. The only difference here that you have is that you have to take away 18 to leave your k by itself, right? The main goal for solving an equation, or the main method to solve an equation, will be if you can, or if you will be able to have your variable, right, k in this case, by itself on the left side. Alright? Because I'm taking negative 18 from the left, I will take well, I'm subtracting 18 actually. I'm taking 18 from both sides, right? From the left and from the right. On the left side, you start with one column at a time. I have k. Now 18 minus 18 is nothing, right? You bring down the equal sign. Negative 9 minus 18. What is that? Well, let's remember the rule. When you subtract, you add the opposite. Okay? You end up with actually negative 19 plus negative 18. 9 negatives plus 18 negatives. 9 apples plus 18 apples. That will give you 27 negatives, right? Please go ahead and check this on your own. How can you check? Remember, you get the initial equation and you plug in the answer that you have for k, and it should check out. Another problem. Let's do a few of them actually, right? Problem number 1 here. Solve the equation and check your solution. b minus 17 equals negative 40. How can I find my b, right? b is missing. Well, because I took away from b 17, I'm going to add 17. I'm going to put the 17 back, right? Imagine b is like a box from which you take 17, I don't know, candies. Well, it may not make sense because it will be negative 40 candies. I don't know, maybe something else. Maybe your bank account from which you're borrowing $17 and you're left with $40, you know, in the red. $40 that are, you know, that you owe to your bank, right? And that's the negative sign that's telling you that you owe those money to your bank. It was a loan or something. And I have what? First column, there's only b, right? Second one, 17 minus 17 together will make 0. Next one, right, equals, and I have negative 40 plus 17. Negative 40 plus 17. I'm adding two numbers with different signs. The rule says subtract the smallest absolute value from the largest absolute value. The smallest absolute value is 17. You take it away from 40, right? 7 out of 10 will be what? 3, right? You borrow 1 from that 4. Be careful, keep it in mind. 1 out of 3 is going to be 2. The answer here will be 23 in absolute value, but don't forget, we keep the sign of the largest one, and that's why negative 40 plus 17 is negative 23. Okay, second problem, different color. How about green, right? We love green. We talk about bank accounts, right? X plus 12 equals 6. I added 12 to my x, and I've got 6, the total, right? To find what x is, I'm going to take those 12 away. I will subtract 12 from both sides. X, 12 minus 12. You see, I'm going column by column. 12 minus 12 is 0. Equals 6 minus 12. 6 minus 12 is actually 6 plus negative 12, right? I'm adding two integers with different signs. I will subtract the smallest absolute value, 6, from the largest one, 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. And I will keep the sign of the largest one. So that's why your x here will be negative 6, right? Same story with the other one. Z plus 2 equals negative 13. Z, I will take away 2 from, because I added 2 to my Z. I want to have Z by itself. And I will take away 2 from the other side, right? First column, Z. Next one, 2 minus 2 is nothing. Next one, bring down your equal sign. Minus 13 minus 2, or negative 13 minus 2, is actually negative 13 plus negative 2. 13 negatives plus 2 negatives will make 15 negatives. You add their absolute values, right, and keep their sign. Negative 15, and that's your Z. Now to check, because you need to check each one of your solutions, you will take the equation, like in number 1, right? You have b minus 17. What we found for b? Negative 23, right? Let's use the red for it. Negative 23. My equation is b minus 17 minus 17 equals negative 40. Is that so? Well, negative 23 minus 17, when I'm, instead of subtracting 17, I'm adding the opposite of 17, which is negative 17. So basically now I'm adding two numbers with the same sign. 7 plus 3 is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 1, 40. It checks, I'm good. You move on to the next one, right? And this should be your homework. As you're watching this, please check if x equals negative 6 is actually the answer to this equation by plugging your x back into your equation. Let's do a few more. Okay? How about those 3 problems? Problem number 10. Minus 25 minus r equals 4 over 36. What is your variable? And be careful here. Some will say r. Well, you are right in some regards, but for this problem here, make sure that you leave that negative sign with your r, because you have negative r actually. And because I want to keep my negative r by itself, I'm going to take away negative 25. But when you take away negative 25, right, when you subtract negative 25, oops, it keeps getting in there. I should move it higher, right? When you subtract, you add the opposite. So I can basically just add 25 here. And I will add 25 to both sides. And that will tell me what my r is, right? Or will not tell me yet, but will leave my negative r by itself. Minus 25 plus 25 will be 0. I have negative r equals, well, first of all, looking at 4 and 36 here, what can you guys tell me about it? Can we simplify? Can we write that in a better way? 4 over 36. Sure, if you said that we can divide both by 4, you were right. Okay? 4 goes in 4 once, 4 goes in 36 9 times. So actually here I have 1 over 9 plus 25, right? Let's do that. 1 over 9 plus 25. Well, as you guys can see in here, I have to add a whole number to a fraction. So the first thing, I need to change my whole number into a fraction. Any number can be written over 1. Now I'm looking for a common denominator of 9 and 1, and that will definitely be 9. I will multiply by 9, top and bottom, on my second equation, right? So your problem now becomes 9 is your denominator. The first one will be 1, right? Your first numerator, plus 25 times 9. Well, 25 times 4 is what? 100. 9 is actually what? 9 is 4 plus 4 plus 1. I'm just showing you an easy way to find what is 9 times 25 without multiplying, just doing it in your head. Well, what can you tell me? If I need to multiply 25 by that, right? This is about what? Will be 4 times 25. Distributive property, right? Multiply that 25 to everything inside the parentheses. 4 times 25 plus 4 times 25 plus 1 times 25. This is 100. That's 100. That's 25. If you add 200s to 25, you will get 225, right? So now, on the top, I will have 225 plus 1 will be 226, right? Over 9. So my negative r equals 226 over 9. What is your r if negative r is that? Can anybody tell me? What is it? Let me find my eraser here. Okay. There you go. We'll do some housekeeping. Housekeeping. Okay, and now I have, because my negative r is 226 over 9, my r will be the opposite of that, would be negative 226 over 9. And if you want, you can change it into a mixed number, right? 9 goes in 22 how many times? Well, first of all, would be negative. 9 goes in 22 2 times, right? 2 times 9, 18. Out of 22 will be 4. 9 goes in 46 5 times. 5 times 9, 45. Out of 46 will be 25 and 1/9. Okay, and that's your r. You can go ahead and check if this proves your equation. Let's do the next one. Negative 3/8 plus x equals 5/8. I need to leave my x by itself. I'm going to add 3/8 to the left side because negative 3/8 plus 3/8 will be 0. And I will definitely add 3/8 to the other side to keep my teeter-totter balance, my equation, to keep it true. On the left, you have x equals what? 5/8 plus 3/8. That would be 8/8, right? 8/8, which we know is actually 1. One more. 5/9 equals negative y plus 2/15, right? Well, I need to leave my negative y by itself, so I'm going to take away 2/15 from both sides. Okay. Now, I have 5/9 plus 2/15. Let's take it separately and find what is that first, right? 5/9 minus actually 2/15. 2/15. What is the least common denominator of 9 and 15? Do you guys remember how to find that? 9 is actually what? Prime factors. 3 times 3. 15 is actually 3 times 5. Now to find the least common, we call it multiple, but that would be the least common denominator. First of all, you need to circle everything that they share in common, right? And that would be 3. So I definitely need to have a factor of 3 into my least common multiple. And then, because that 3 is only, you know, a factor of 9, I'm going to multiply it here, and I will do the same thing with my 5. Okay? And this equals what? 3 times 3 times 5 will be 45. So it seems to me that 45 is the common denominator. Now what you have to do in here is you have to multiply 15 by this number, by 3, and 9 but by that number. You see the numbers they're not sharing. Let's use a rectangle for that. So that tells me already 9 needs to be multiplied by 5, and you multiply the top and bottom. 15 needs to be multiplied by 3, you multiply the top and bottom. Now your denominator is going to be 45, and we only work with the numerators, right? 5 times 5, that's 25, minus, right, that's the operation, 2 times 3 is 6. What do we have? 25 minus 6 is going to be 19 over 45. Okay? Moving on with our equation. On the left, I have 19 over 45 equals negative y. What is your y? Well, my y will be the opposite of that. So my y will be negative 19 over 45. You basically just multiply by negative 1 both sides, and that will tell you that your y is negative 19 over 45. We cannot simplify it because 19 is a prime number, and this is it. Obviously, you will like, you know, you should check. You will go ahead to the next step and check if this is true. But this is these are the main things you need to pay attention in our Unit 4 lesson. And if you're following these steps, if you follow in this direction, you do more practice, you're gonna be fine. Okay? We'll do more examples in class. Next part is gonna be on solving equations with multiplication and division. Stay put and do work. Okay? Thank you.